We currently are in elementary schools. This lovely lady right here is the ag teacher at one of our schools, Hurd Elementary. And so that's what I'm here to talk about is we have curriculum, we install food forests, and let me tell you up front, there is no cost to the school. So before, I didn't want you sitting here thinking, oh, we can't afford this. Yes, you can. We wanted no barrier to entry. So we apply for grants, we get corporate sponsors, and we do look at serving the underserved communities first. That doesn't mean that all of our schools are in underserved communities because we have had some come to us. But anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let me start at the beginning. So, I'm going to take you on a little journey today, and it's a journey through a food forest. I don't know if you all are familiar with the concept of the food forest, but I'm going to make sure we're all on the same page there in a minute. So, in my mind, if we can't walk down our streets and pick our lunch, we have a design problem, and we have a food insecurity problem. I know that people like to assume that people who are on food stamps or struggling, they're living in a food desert, that they're food insecure. But let me ask you a question. Do you grow all the food that your family needs? I don't. And if you don't grow all the food your family needs, you are food insecure. We saw that during COVID, right? We see that when a storm blows through. We see that at the slightest hint, whisper of snow coming, what happens to the food on the shelves? It all disappears, right? It's not because the food doesn't exist, it's because the supply chain broke down, right? All right, so we spend in this country millions of dollars on mowing grass, making ornamental shrubs look nice, but we're growing very little food in these places. So we don't really need more land or more money. We just need to redesign what we've got. So this is what happens when there's food insecurity. We used to have, let me see the next slide, yes. So there used to be 3 tiers of food security in this country, and it wasn't that long ago. So the first layer is growing food at home. So having personal food literacy, you have to know how to grow if you're gonna grow food at home, right? The second one is community food production. We grow as a community gardens, we help our neighbor, we might barter with our neighbors, we might say, hey, I'm gonna grow watermelons and you grow squash and we'll trade in the community. Then there's the third one, which is the markets, and that includes farmers markets, grocery stores. We're not trying to replace the grocery store. We're just trying to bring back the first 2 layers that used to exist that no longer do. Okay, so why does this matter for ag teachers? So agricultural education is uniquely positioned to bring back these missing layers. Ag teachers already understand that food doesn't begin on a shelf, right? You teach production, you teach stewardship, you teach soil and plants and seasons and systems and responsibility. So that what that means is that ag education is not just career education, but it's food security infrastructure. So now we're going to pause change direction for a minute and look at what a food forest is, just in case we're not all on the same page here. So a food forest starts with a central element, which is a fruit or a nut tree. Then you put up to 6 layers down and around it between the other trees. That's called a guild when there's one fruit and nut tree and the other layers around it. It's an ecosystem you've created there. You can put as many guilds as you have space for. If you have space for 1, great, you're growing something. If you have space for 50, even better. So in this guild, we have the canopy layer, which is a large fruit or nut tree. We have low trees below that. We have shrubs below that. Then the herbaceous layer, which is flowers and herbs and other vegetables that are lower. Then we'll move over to the soil surface layer. We make sure all the soil is always covered because that retains the nutrients, right? And then the root layer and the vertical layer, binding things. So when this is created, when it's established, which usually takes about 3 years, it can take a little longer depending on the fruit trees and nut trees. Humans can literally walk away and it will continue to produce food for generations. You all probably already know this, but this is something that I teach out in the community. So that means that we're managing water naturally. You don't have to water it. We're managing pests naturally. You don't have to worry about pesticides. We are, it gets better over time. So time is a factor that improves it. And maintenance, you don't need to pull weeds because the weeds, I'm sure you already know this too, the weeds have a purpose, right? And that's to improve the soil. And so once they've done their job, they move themselves out. Now, there are exceptions, obviously. We don't like the kudzu, and we will pull out invasive weeds. But for the most part, we chop and drop weeds, we chop and drop biomass that we're growing so that everything is natural, organic. Okay, let me change my page. So, every landscape is doing something, right? We know that the earth is constantly trying to turn itself back into a forest, which is why we see weeds growing up through asphalt cracks, right? So what about a schoolyard? It can be turf only, or it can include some raised beds. It can include fruit trees and berries, herbs, pollinator plants, outdoor learning spaces. It can be designed to grow and provide in the same space where the turf was, right? So food security begins when we start asking, what could this land teach? And what could this land grow? We design our food forests to work with the land and to follow the natural laws of a forest. So with proper design, we speed up the process of the earth turning itself into a forest, which can take decades, it can take 100 years, but with proper design, we can do it in 3. So within those few short years, we can establish a productive food forest that can feed people for generations. Okay, so a school campus is not just a place where education happens. It's a place where students return day after day, season after season. It's part of a community. So we also create each of our GROW programs to benefit the community surrounding the school. So we very quickly figured out that especially our marginalized schools, our underserved schools, are in communities that need some extra support with food. So we always go into a school and ask the principal, would you like to help feed your community? And they've all said yes. So what we do is we prepare for that with a larger food forest. And we also, we're in a school for 3 years. We commit to 3 years and invest in that school for 3 years. And in that time, we make relationships with businesses that are near, with places of worship, so that they can help support. And oftentimes, if we find a place of worship that wants to help, they already have a food distribution system set up so that it's easy. They can just go to the school, pick up the harvest, and distribute it. We also work with some other companies that do that too in some areas. So these, let's see, I lost my place. Okay, so that makes the school itself a powerful resource for rebuilding food security in a community, because if people can, obviously the harvest goes to the students and their families first, but then can go into the community as it gets deeper and richer and more productive. So we help each school develop these relationships and develop these systems. All right, so time is a design element. So annual growing systems require replanting every season, right? We know this. Perennial systems though, and these are all perennial foods in here, they accumulate strength over time. So the roots deepen, the soil improves, the pollinators return, shade develops, and production increases. So for schools, this matters because the students can observe the change over time, right? It also means that with time, the food forest gets stronger, it gets more abundant, and it needs less and less maintenance. So in this picture, you can see the same space, the first year and the fourth year, totally different, right? All right, so what students learn in a food forest? So using our model, they don't just memorize plant parts, they watch systems work, which translates into other areas of their lives, watching a system work. They see pollinators moving, they observe decomposers building soil, they notice how much mulch holds water. They learn that food production is connected to ecology, and that's agricultural education at its best. All right, so land alone does not create food security. Knowledge must flow out of it to truly transform a space. So what we're seeing is these students are taking in this knowledge, and then they're taking it home, and they're taking it into their neighborhoods, and they're motivating their own families to grow where they can, to grow in their communities. And so the ripple effect of this is huge. One student can actually impact hundreds of people in just a few years. So that student may take it home and grow at home. They may teach a sibling. They may join an FFA. They may pursue a career in agriculture, or simply become an adult who understands food systems better. So the best part, once these students learn how to grow food, nobody can take that from them, and they can always be food secure. All right, so our method is simple. We have education that introduces the knowledge. We have visible systems that show how it works. And then students and families replicate it elsewhere. And this is how we imagine Georgia becoming the first food secure state in the nation. That's a lofty goal, isn't it? Being that there's currently no city in the United States that claims food security. But we believe that with this model, that we can achieve this. All right, so agricultural education as community leadership. Ag teachers are not only preparing future farmers. So you are preparing future land stewards, consumers, voters, parents, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. So when students understand a whole food system, they're better equipped to use it, to promote it, and to shape it. So we believe that food literacy should not begin in high school. By high school, many students have already formed their assumptions about food. Elementary students are naturally still curious, and they want to touch the soil, they want to plant seeds, they want to find insects, they want to taste herbs and ask why. And that's the perfect age to introduce food systems. Where when I go into schools and help the students, because we plant, Shaome Cooperative plants the trees, we do the heavy lifting, and then we have student planting days where the students get to plant the smaller things in the food forest so that they're invested in it, right? And so when I go there and talk to these students, I invariably have one or more saying, what's this plant? And so I pull out my Seek app on my phone, and we go and we look, and they get so excited, and I usually have one or more who start running, taking the plant. If it's something we're pulling up or something we're planting, they'll take it and show their friends and say, this is a morning glory, or this is, and so they are very excited and engaged. And I'll tell you what else. Every single school, I have had at least one teacher or principal say, these students who are considered the difficult or challenging students are the ones that flourish the most in the food forest. And it's probably because they're bored in the classroom, right? They just want to be outside. But we have had, and whole classes, at one school we were doing a cleanup day, and the class, they were pulling out a weed that was tree-sized. So it took all of them, the whole class, pulling together, and we did not ask them to do this. They organically decided to work together, and they were saying 1, 2, 3, and the teacher leans over to me and she says, this class has never worked together. So do you think that that's going to translate into some other in the classroom or some other opportunity, right? So this is multifaceted. This is benefiting students in way more ways than just learning how to plant a tomato, right? Okay, so Shaome Cooperative's elementary school curriculum is available to our Grow schools. That's the name of the program, Growing with Real Organic Wisdom. Through Shaome School, our online platform. The curriculum is designed to help teachers bring food security, food forests, ecology, and agricultural literacy into the classroom and schoolyard. So this is not just for ag teachers, this is for all teachers. And so nobody has to know anything about growing. We provide it all. We provide the lesson plans, we have activity sheets, we have all of it. And then we go and plant the food forest. In some cases, we're planting in raised beds. If the students' playground is too far from their food forest for them to see things growing every day, then we'll put in raised beds because we want them to see it growing, because they get so excited when they see something getting taller, or if they can go over and grab a leaf and take a bite, which people told us in the beginning, these kids aren't going to want to grow vegetables, they're not going to eat them. That's not what we see. What we see is kids going over and grabbing a leaf and shoving it in their mouth and saying, this is good, and being excited that they helped grow that thing that's good. So we provide, like I said, everything the school needs, the lesson plans, the food forest, the raised beds, and at no cost to the school. So today, because you are in this lecture, I want to give you access to our curriculum. I have a sign-up sheet back there at the table with the water. It says newsletter sign-up, and you'll be agreeing to be on our newsletter too. That's a once-a-week newsletter that comes out, and we just talk about growing. We talk about growing in a food forest. We talk about where we are and what we're doing. So if you will just put the letter C next to your name, to the left of your name, I will make sure that you have free access to our curriculum. And there's also a green folder back there that has printed copies if you want to look through it. Okay, so a few things about our curriculum is that it connects food growing lessons to Georgia's academic standards, and those are labeled on it so you can see. It uses food forests and edible gardens as outdoor classrooms. It teaches students where food comes from and the nutrition. It introduces soil, plants, pollinators, natural water management, ecosystems, and more. And it makes food security understandable to young learners. Okay, so the GROW program, schools become living classrooms that grow both food and knowledge. It combines the raised beds, the food forest, edible plants, fruit and nut trees, tools, gloves, teacher training, curriculum support, and access to Shaome School, which is our online learning platform. That's where the curriculum lives. We also have other learning communities in Shaome School that are for everybody of all walks of life, not just students. So, why this belongs in K through 12 ag education. So ag education has a larger purpose than just teaching students how to grow food. It connects science to life, it connects classrooms to land, it connects students to real skills, and food security gives ag education a larger public purpose. So you're not just teaching students how to grow plants, you're teaching them how communities become resilient. So we believe that teaching students how to grow food and care for the land using food forests gives ag educators the best possible model to create food security in their communities. So we obviously believe that food security is possible. Imagine every school campus with at least one visible place where food is growing. Imagine students graduating, having planted, observed, harvested, tasted, and understood how to grow nutritious food, right? Imagine agricultural education becoming one of the strongest tools then we have for rebuilding local food security. Food security is not something we buy, it's something we design. All right, so I have written 2 books about this. The first one is the Food Security Blueprint, and it explains the what and the why. It's really a paradigm shift explaining how food forests and long-term community infrastructure can produce food, restoring ecosystems, strengthening local knowledge, and helping communities become more resilient. That's the smaller one in the picture. And then the Food Forest Foundations provides the how. So it's a practical workbook that walks readers through observing the land, understanding soil and water, selecting plants, designing layers and plant communities, and developing a productive food forest suited to a particular site. So together, the books connect vision with implementation. One helps readers understand what's possible, and the other helps them begin designing and building it. So our GROW schools, they receive both of these books. The lead teacher receives both of these books to help guide them. They also have access to all of our learning online at Shaome School, which includes an 18-lesson video-based course, which mirrors the Food Forest Foundations book. So both books are available now. In fact, I brought some of the Food Security Blueprint in case anyone's interested. For a $15 donation to Shaome Cooperative, you can take that home with you today. It's also available on Amazon. Both books are available on Amazon. You just search my name, Chelsea McClain, and that is spelled incorrectly in the paperwork for this conference. So there are 2 C's in McClain. Anyway, I am finished with all of my content. So if there are any questions, does anyone have any questions? We can, yes.
I noticed you guys are located in Macon. You guys travel all over Georgia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So our goal, one of our other programs is called the Food Forest Classroom. I know that sounds like it's in a school, but it's not. It's creating a public-facing, productive food forest that has signage around the perimeter, and 12 of those signs have a micro lesson about how to grow a food forest. They also have a QR code. You access the QR code, you get to our Shaome School online, you can do a deeper dive, that's all free. And our vision is to have a food forest classroom in every county in Georgia. So that's 159, right? Yes, ma'am.
I saw you showed the curriculum for elementary school. Do you have curriculum for high school as well?
Great question. She asked if we have curriculum for high school. So we do have the curriculum, but one of our board members was a teacher for 30 years, and so she is helping us to align it to standards. But what we're doing now is we want it to be a certification course in high school. So we're almost finished. We're hoping to get that finished by fall, and then we have to work with one high school somewhere to implement it, and then we can get it adopted as a certification. So that was a really long answer for, yes, we're almost there. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes.
Does the land already need to be cleared and situated before you guys come in, or how does that work?
Well, it can't have trees. We can't pull down trees, but it can need some cleanup for sure. Yeah. But we're usually looking in schools. We're usually looking at taking up something that has grass, usually, so it's easier to plant.
If my school currently works with the program and we want to bring you guys in as well, is that problematic? Like we work with Trees Atlanta currently as well?
Not for us. Yeah, it's not a problem for us. So, we're happy. We know that it's not going to just be us to create food security in Georgia. We need to link arms with everybody we can. So, yeah. And if you're interested, if you would put your name on the newsletter list. Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
I asked because there's been, oftentimes with school gardens, there's a lot of different ideas for how dramatically to respond to pest and disease. Is there follow-up beyond the 3 years that y'all provide to help guide people towards a way to still maintain the food forest without just chopping something down? This is spotted when Drosophila is there.
Yes, great question, because yes, the teachers change in the school, right? And so we absolutely can continue to support and to train new teachers, even new principals. We've been in one school for 3 years now, and we're on our third principal. So yes, that is a factor. And what we do require from each school is that they recruit volunteers from the school, other teachers, administrators, parents, grandparents. What we prefer is 2 volunteers for each grade, and then we've got a team and not just one potential point of failure, right? Because we know that if that teacher leaves, that was our liaison, you know what I mean? If there's no support team, then it fails. So